Friends, if you want to see our previous videos, then click the channel name or picture below the video, then go to the video or playlist option and press the red subscribe option and press the bell icon for my latest video updates. This is Bori Critical Mahabharat book, section 8, Jatugriha Daha Parva, chapter 1 to 9. Besampayana said, on seeing that Bhimsena had become extremely strong and Dhananjaya extremely skilled, the evil Duryodhana was tormented. Then Vakardhana Karna and Subala Shansakuni tried to kill the Pandavas through various means. Karna and Shakuni, not Duryodhana. However, the Pandavas, slayer of enemies, discovered all of them, but because of Vidura's advice, they refrained from relieving these plots. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, on seeing that the sons of Pandu were blessed with all the qualities, the citizens began to speak about their qualities in squares and assemblies. Lord of man Dhritarashtra, through possessing the sight of wisdom, could not inherit the kingdom then because he was blind. How can he be king now? Santanu's son Bhishma is rigid in his vows and is devoted to the truth. Having given up the kingdom earlier, he will never accept it now. The eldest Pandava is young but has the conduct of the old, is truthful and compassionate, and has knowledge of the Vedas. With due ceremonies, it is up to us to crown him. Since he follows the path of Dharma, he will certainly worship Santanu's son Bhishma and Dhritarashtra and his sons and give them objects for sustenance. The evil Duryodhana heard these words of affection for Yudhishthira and burned in grief. Burning thus, the evil-souled one could not condone such talk. Inflamed with jealousy, he went to Dhritarashtra. Finding his father alone, he paid homage to him, and burned by the partiality of the citizens, said, O father, I have heard words of ill omen uttered by the citizens. Ignoring you and Bhishma, they desire that the Pandavas should be their king. Bhishma will agree to this because he does not wish to rule the kingdom. It seems that the citizens wish to impose a great injury on us. Earlier, Pandu obtained this kingdom from his father because of his own qualities. Through you possessed every quality required to inherit the kingdom. You did not get it because of your defect. If Pandu's son now receives it after Pandu, his son will certainly receive it thereafter, and his son, and so on. We and our sons will be excluded from the royal succession. O Lord of the earth, in future we will be ignored by the worlds. We will always be dependent on others for our rice cakes and will always live in hell. O king, therefore quickly find a way so that this does not happen. O king, if you had obtained the kingdom earlier, you would have become established and we would have certainly succeeded to it, regardless of how unwilling the people are. Next, chapter 130. Besampayana said, having heard these words from his son, Dhritarashtra thought for a while and then spoke to his son. Dhritarashtra said, Pandu was always devoted to Dharma. He always behaved respectfully towards his relatives and especially towards me. I never knew him to care for food and other objects of pleasure. He was rigid in his vows and gave me everything, including the kingdom. Pandu's son is as devoted to Dharma as he was. He was all the qualities, is famous in the world, and is extremely respected by the citizens. How can we forcibly exile him? especially since he was allies from the kingdom of his father and grandfather. Pandu always took care of his advisors and his soldiers, especially their sons and grandsons. O son, earlier, Pandu always took good care of the citizens of the city. For Yudhishthira's sake, why should they not kill us and our relatives? Duryodhana replied, O father, I have thought about that danger also and have weighted it against the evil that will befall us. We must placed the people by offering them wealth and honor. They will then certainly side with us. O Lord of the earth, the advisors and the treasury are now under our control. Therefore, use some gentle means to remove the Pandavas to the city of Varnabrata. O king, O descendant of the birth lineage, when I am firmly installed as a king, Kunti and her sons can always return. Dhritarashtra said, O Duryodhana, the same thought has arisen in my mind too, but I could not reveal it because it was evil. Bhishma or Drona or Shata or Gautama will never approve that uh, vanishment of Kunti's son, O son. In their eyes, we and the Pandavas are equals. Those wise and virtuous men will not tolerate any differentiation. O son, why should we not deserve that from the descendants of the Kuru lineage? Those great souled ones and evil inhabitants of the entire world. Duryodhana said, Bhishma will always be natural. Drona's son is on my side. There is no doubt that Drona will be on the side that his son is on. There is no doubt that Sharadvat's son Kripa will be on the side where those three can be. He will never forsake Drona and his sister's son. Through he secretly sides with others, Shata's survival is linked to us, even if he opposes us for the sake of the Pandavas, he will be able to do no harm. Without any fear, vanish Pandu's sons and their mother to Varnabrata. Do it today, and evil will not result. Through this act, take away the terrible spike that is in my heart and the fire that burns me with grief and robs me of my sleep. Next chapter 131. Bhishma said, Then King Duryodhana and his brothers slowly began to win people over to their side by bestowing honor and riches on them. One day, on Dhritarashtra's instructions, some skilled ministers began to describe that beautiful city of Varnavrata. Pashupati's festival will be held in the beautiful city of Varnavata. A large number of people have assembled there. That marvelous place will be adorned with all the gems. On Dhritarashtra's bidding, these were the words they uttered. O king, when they heard these stories about the beautiful city of Varnavata, Pandu's son wished to go there. When the king realized that the Pandavas were curious, Ambika's son told the Pandavas, My men always and repeatedly described to me the city of Varnavata, the most charming in the world. O sons, if you wish to witness the festival in the city of Varnavata, go there with your attendants and soldiers and enjoy yourselves like the gods. Give jewels to all the Brahmanas and the singers. Enjoy yourselves like radiant gods who possess all they desire. Spend as much time as you want there, and when you have enjoyed yourselves completely, happily return to Hastinapura, realizing that this was Dhritarashtra's own wish and he himself had no allies. Yudhishthira agreed. Addressing Santanu's son Bhishma, the immensely wise Vidura, Drona, and Balika, Samadatta, the Kauravas, Kripa, and preceptor's son, and the illustrious Gandhari, Yudhishthira said softly and weakly, On Dhritarashtra's command, we are going with our friends to the lovely and populated city of Varnavata, bless us with happy hearts so that those secret blessings ensure our prosperity and protect us from sin. Having heard these words of Pandu's son, all the Kauravas blessed the Pandavas with happy hearts. O sons of Pandu, let all the beings along your journey bring you fortune. Let not the slightest touch of evil touch you. Then, after having received blessing and after having performed all the rites for obtaining the kingdom, the Pandavas left for Barnabrata. Next chapter 132. Vaishampayana said, O descendant of the birth lineage, when the king addressed Pandu's great souled sons, the evil hearted Duryodhana was extremely happy. Obul among the Bharatas, he privately summoned Purochana, grasped the advisors by the right hand and told him these words, O Purochana, this world with all its riches is mine, but with me it is also yours. You should protect it. I have no other ally who is as trustworthy. I have to consult with you, O Father. Keep these consultations and destroy my enemies cleverly. Skillfully accomplish what I ask you to do. Dhritarashtra has sent the Pandavas to Varnavrata on Dhritarashtra's command. They will sport themselves in the festival there. Ensure that you reach Varnavrata today on a cart drawn by swift asses. On reaching there, build an excellent house with 4 halls on the outskirts of the city, large and full of riches, and near the store where weapons are kept. Use hemp, use hemp, resin, and other inflammable materials that can be obtained in the construction. Mix the clay with ghee, oil from seeds, and a large quantity of lac and plaster the walls with this. Also place carefully in the house hemp, cane, ghee, lac wood, and wooden tools, but in such a way that the Pandavas or other men are not suspicious on scrutiny and do not deduce that the house has been constructed with inflammable materials. After constructing the house in this way, reverently pay homage to the Pandavas and get them to live there with Kunti and her attendants. For the sons of Pandu, place beautiful conveyance seats and beds there so as to satisfy my father. Do it in such a way that no one in the city of Varnavata gets to know until our time arrives, knowing that they are asleep in their beds, completely assured and without suspecting danger from anywhere. Set fire to it, beginning at the gate. When they have burned to death in that house, people will not blame us for the death of the Pandavas. Purochana promised the Kaurava that he would do this and left for Varnavata in a cart drawn by asses. O king, he was always obedient to Duryodhana and left quickly. Purochana did as the prince had asked him to do. Next chapter 133. Vaishampana said the Pandavas yoked excellent horses, swift as the wind, to their chariots. When ascending, they sorrowfully touched the feet of Bhishma, King Dhritarashtra, the great soul Drona, Kripa, Vidura, and others who were old, since they were rigid in their vows. They paid homage to all the elders of the Kuru lineage and embraced their equals. Even the children said farewell, taking leave of all the mothers and circling them with respect. They said farewell to the citizens and set out for Varnabrata. The immensely wise Vidura, other bulls among the Kurus, and the citizens sorrowfully followed those tigers among men. O bull among the Bharatas, there were some fearless Brahmanas there, aggrieved over what had happened to Pandu's son, they said, "The evil king Dhritarashtra isn't impartial and is immersed in darkness. Dhritarashtra doesn't follow the path of Dharma. The Pandava, who has no sin in his heart, Bhima, supreme among those who are strong, and Kunti's son Dhananjaya cannot commit a sin, nor can the immensely wise sons of Madri. Dhritarashtra cannot bear that they have inherited the kingdom from their father. How could Bhishma have allowed such a great act of adharma? So that Kunti's sons, bulls among the Bharata lineage, have been vanished to another city without reason. Vichitravirya, Santanu's son, and Kuru's descendant, and Rajarshi Pandu were like our fathers. Since tiger among men has now met his destiny, Dhritarashtra cannot bear his sons. These princes, though they are young, we cannot sanction this. Therefore, let us leave this supreme city and our houses and go to the place where Yudhishthira is going. Dharmaraja Yudhishthira thought about this for a while and then sorrowfully addressed the sorrowing citizens. The Lord of the earth is like our Father. He is our greatest preceptor. It is our duty to unhesitatingly obey whatever he commands. O illustrious ones, you are our well-wishers. Circle around us and make us happy with your blessings. Then return home. When the time comes for you to do something for us, do that which is pleasing and is good for us. Having been thus addressed, the citizens circled the Pandavas and gave them their blessings. Then they returned to the city. When the citizens had returned, Vidura, who knew all the principles of Dharma, spoke to the eldest Pandava so as to warn him. The learned one spoke to the learned one is nonsensical words. O one who know will act so as to avoid danger. There is a sharp weapon that can pierce the body, but is not made of iron. He who knows this is not killed and can turn it against the enemy. The burner of grass and the dearer of dew do not kill animals in holes. He who protects himself through knowledge lives. The blind man doesn't see the way because the blind man has no sense of direction. He who doesn't have perseverance in never prosperous, know this and be alert. He who accepts an ironless weapon from the untrustworthy can escape from the fire like a porcupine. Through traveling, a man gets to know the way, and from the stars can deduce the directions. He who keeps the five under self control is never oppressed by the enemy. Having thus addressed the Pandavas, Vidura circled them, and having said welfare, returned to his house. After Vidura, Bhishma, and the citizens had returned, Kunti went to Ajatsatru, Yudhishthira, and said, "What did Shatar tell you among so many people?" He spoke as if he said nothing, and you replied similarly. "We have not understood. If it is not appropriate that we should know, I wish to know what you spoke to each other." Yudhishthira replied, "Vidura said that there is danger from poison and fire, and that there should be no path that I do not know. He told me that the man who is self-control wins the entire world." I told Vidura that I had understood. On the 8th day of the month of Falguna, when Rohini was in the ascendant, they left for Varnabrata and saw the city and its people. Next chapter, Vaisampana said, hearing that the Pandavas were coming, the citizens of Varnabrata were delighted and swiftly came out in thousands in various conveyance in order to receive those best of men. They carried with them auspicious gifts as laid down in the Shastras. Coming to Kunti's sons, the citizens of Varnabrata reverently surrounded them in a circle and uttered the blessed word Jaya. Thus, surrounded by them, Dharmaraja Yudhishthira, tiger among men, looked like the one with the Vajra in his hand, surrounded by the gods. Welcomed by the citizens and paying homage to them in return, those unblemished ones entered Varnabrata, populated and decorated for the festival. O protector of the earth, entering the city, the warriors first went to the house of the Brahmanas engaged in their duties. Then they went to the house of the city officials and next to the house of those with chariots. Next, they went to the house of the Vaishyas and even to the house of the Shudras. The citizens paid homage to the Pandavas, bulls among men. Next, with Purochana leading the way, they went to their house. Purochana gave them beautiful food, drinks, beds, and seats. Served by Purochana and worshipped by the town citizens, they lived there, attired in expensive garments. When they had lived there for 10 nights, Purochana told them about a house that was blessed. Though it was actually unblessed, attired in expensive garments, those tigers among men then entered the house at Purochana's request, like the Gokas enter Kailasha. Inspecting the house, Yudhishthira, supreme among those who know all the dharma, told Bhimsena, O scorcher of enemies, from the smell of fat and ghee mixed with lac, it is clear that this house is made of inflammable materials. The evil Purochana has used trusted and well skilled artisans to build a house with straw, bark, and cane, sprinkled all over with ghee. After winning my confidence, he wishes to burn me to death. O Partha, this is the danger that the immensely intelligent Vidura foresaw and warned me about earlier. But now that he has told us, we know this house to be full of danger. Constructed by skilled artisans under Duryodhana's control, Bhimsena said, if you think this house is inflammable, then let us go back to our earlier house. Yudhishthira said, I think we should live here as if we are keen and suspect nothing and thus doomed to be destroyed. But we must find a certain way of escaping. If Purochana deduce from our appearance that we suspect, he may act quickly and suddenly burn us to death. Purochana does not shrink from outrage and sin. The evil one is based here on Suyodhana's orders. The question remains whether grandfather Bhishma will be angry if we are burned alive. Will he anger the Kauravas by displaying his anger to them? It may be that if we are burned, grandfather Bhishma and other bulls of the Kuru lineage may be angry for the sake of dharma, but if we flee from this place scared of being burned, Suyodhana means Duryodhana, avaricious for the kingdom, may kill us through assassins. The evil Suyodhana has position, we have none. He has allies, we have none. He has a large treasury, we have no riches. There is no doubt that he can kill us through diverse means. Deceiving this evil one and the evil one Suyodhana, let us live here for some time, hiding where to go. Let us roam the earth the way hunters do, so that we become aware of all the routes that exist for escape. We will now secretly dig a hidden tunnel in the ground. If we can keep that a secret, the fire will not be able to destroy us. Let us live here in a way that neither Purojana nor the inhabitants of the city know what we are doing. Next chapter, Vishampayana said, O king, there was a skilled digger who was Vidura's friend. This man came and spoke to the Pandavas secretly. I have been sent by Vidura to do that which is pleasing to the Pandavas. I am well skilled in digging. Please tell me what I can do for you. Vidura told me to go to the Pandavas and do that which is for their welfare. He trusts me. What can I do for you? On the 14th night of this Krishna Paksha, Purushana will set fire to the door of your house. O Partha, I have heard that Dhritarashtra's son has decided to burn the Pandavas, bulls among men, together with their mother. O Pandava, Vidura told you something in the Mlecha language, and you replied in that language. I am telling you this to establish my uh, credentials. Yudhishthira, Kunti's truthful son, replied, O agreeable one, I now know you to be a trusted and true friend by Vidura's, always devoted to him. There is nothing that learned one does not know, just as you are his. You are ours. Do not distinguish between him and us. We are yours as much as his. Protect us the way that wise man does. I know Purochana built this inflammable house for me, one that won the command of Dhritarashtra's son. The evil-hearted malicious one with control over riches and alliances has always oppressed us. Use all your efforts to save us from the fire. If we are burned to death, Duryodhana's wishes will be fulfilled. The evil hearted one's store of arms is there. This large house has been built along those walls. Vidura certainly knew in advance the evil crime that was being plotted and warned me about it. The danger that Shata foresaw earlier is upon us now. Help us escape from that without Purochana knowing. The digger promised to help. Carefully he began to work up excavation and made a deep tunnel under the ground. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, he built that tunnel in the center of the house with a narrow mouth and level with the ground, and covered it with wooden planks. Because of the fear of Purochana, the opening was thus covered. He constantly keep a watch on the gate of the house. O king, they live in the hole in the night with their weapons ready. During a day, the Pandavas went out hunting from forest to forest. O king, deceiving Purochana with a display of trustfulness and contentment, they were actually distrusting and discontented and lived very unhappily. The inhabitants of the city knew nothing about all this except for Vidura's friend, the excellent digger. Next chapter 136. Vishnupada said, having seen them live there for an entire year, happy and unsuspecting, Purochana was extremely delighted. Witnessing Purochana's delight, Yudhishthira, Kunti's various sons, spoke to Bhimsena, Arjuna, and the twins. Twins means Nakul Sahadev. The cruel-hearted and evil Purochana thinks us to be trusting and has been deceived well. I think the time has come for our escape. Let us escape unobserved by anyone. After setting fire to the armory, burning Purochana to death, and leaving 6 bodies here, O king, on the occasion of giving alms, Kunti fed a large number of brahmanas in the night. A number of women also come. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, they enjoyed themselves and ate and drank as much as they wished. When it was night, with Mahadevi's permission, they returned home, driven by destiny and in search of food. A hunter woman also happened to come to the feast, accompanied by her 5 sons. All of them drank wine until, with her sons, she was completely drunk. O ruler of men, she and her sons lost their senses and slept in that house as if dead. When everyone was asleep and a violent storm started in the night, Bhima started a fire at the spot where Purochana was sleeping. The intense heat and great roar of the fire soon became manifest and awake a large number of the citizens. The citizens said, under Duryodhana's instructions, the evil-minded one built this house for his own destruction. Curse on Dhritarashtra, whose intelligence isn't impartial, he was burned to death. Pandu's pure sons, as if they are his enemies, as fate would have it, that evil hearted and evil minded one has burned those innocent and unsuspecting ones supreme among men and has himself been burned. Thus did the citizens of Varnavata mourn as they stood around the house throughout that entire night. However, with their mother, the grieving Pandavas emerged through the tunnel and fled quickly, unobserved. The sculpture of enemies, the Pandavas could not move swiftly with their mother because of fear and lack of sleep. O Lord of Kings, Bhimsena, with great speed and power, then took up all his brothers and his mother. With his great strength, the valorous one carried his mother on his shoulder, the twins on his hips, and his brothers, the two Parthas, on his arms. He shattered the trees with force and pounded the earth with his feet. The energetic Brikodara rushed on with a violence of a storm. Next chapter 137. Vishnupada said, when the night passed, all the city's inhabitants went there quickly to look for Pandu's sons. They put out the fire and saw that the house which had been burned down had been constructed with lac and that the advisor Purochana had been burned. The citizens said, there is no doubt that the evil Duryodhana committed this act to destroy the Pandavas. Without a doubt, this was done with Dhritarashtra's knowledge, otherwise he would have prevented Dhritarashtra's son from burning Pandu's hairs. Indeed, Santanu's son Drona, Vidura, Kripa and the other Kauravas haven't followed the dictates of Dharma either. Let us send the news to the evil-hearted Dhritarashtra that his supreme desire has been fulfilled and that he has burned to death the Pandavas. When they stirred the ashes to look for the Pandavas, they found the burned hunter woman and her 5 sons. While cleaning up, the digger covered up the opening and debris so that none of the men present noticed it. The citizens then sent the news of Dhritarashtra that the Pandavas, together with the advisor Purochana, had been burned in a fire. Hearing the terrible news of the death of Pandu's sons, King Dhritarashtra lamented in great sorrow. Dhritarashtra said, when those warriors and their mother have been burned to death, today my unparalleled brother Pandu is truly dead. Let men quickly go to Varnavata and perform the funeral ceremonies for those warriors and for the Princess Kunti. Let the bones of the dead be sanctified in large and white receptacles. Let the well-wishers of the dead pay homage to them. Now that this has happened, let us spare no riches to perform act that bring welfare to Kunti and the Pandavas. Having said this, surrounded by his relatives, Ambika's son tendered offering to water to Pandu's son, afflicted with grief. All the Kauravas lamented, but Vidura did not sorrow much because he knew more. O Lord of Kings, after escaping from the city of Varnabrata, the Pandavas swiftly moved on, heading towards the south. In the night, they found their way towards the south by the stars. O King, after a lot of suffering, they reached a deep forest. Pandu's sons were tired, thirsty, and blind from lack of sleep. Yudhishthira again spoke to the immensely valorous Bhimsena. What can be more painful than our being in this dense forest? We do not know the directions and we are incapable of proceeding further. We do not know if that evil Purochana has actually been burned to death. Unobserved, how will we escape from these dangers? O descendant of the Bharata lineage, carry us once again, as earlier, and let us proceed. Among us, you alone are strong and swift as the wind. Thus addressed by Dharmaraja, the immensely strong Bhimsena once more picked up Kunti and his brothers and walked with great strength. Next chapter, Vasampana said, O king, the force and speed of his thighs raised a storm like strong winds when Shukra and Suchi draw near. He strode on, tearing down large trees with flowers and fruit on them and demolishing creepers that obstructed the way. He uprooted with his immeasurable power trees and bushes, and his speed dashed Pandu's sons. Using his arms as boats, he swam across many streams whose banks were distant. Fearing Dhritarashtra's son, they assumed disguises. He carried his delicate and illustrious mother on his back. When the going was difficult over river banks and uneven terrain, when it was evening, those bulls among Bharata lineage reaches an impenetrable forest where roots, fruits, and water were scarce, and the place was full of cruel birds of prey and beasts. The twilight became terrible and fearful with birds and beasts, and the directions disappeared as a storm was imminent. Those descendants of the Kuru lineage were tired and thirsty and overcome with sleep. They could proceed no further. Then Bhima entered a large, desolate, and terrible forest. He saw a beautiful fig tree that offered extensive shade. O bulls among the Bharata lineage, placing them there, he said, O Lord, rest here. I am going to bring water. I hear the sweet voices of water dwelling cranes. I am certain there must be a large lake here. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, his elder brother permitted him to go, and he went where the water dwelling cranes were. O bull among the Bharata lineage, there he drank the water and bathed. O king, he brought water back by soaking his upper garment. Swiftly retracting his steps, he went to his mother, who was 2 measures of distance away. On seeing his mother and brothers asleep on the ground, Brikodara was afflicted with great grief and lamented. Earlier they could not sleep in Varnabhata on expensive bed. Now they are asleep on the ground. Kunti is the daughter of Kunti Bhoja and is blessed with all the auspicious marks. She is the sister of Vasudeva who grinds his enemies down. She is the daughter-in-law of Vichitrabirya and the wife of the great soul Pandu. She is as radiant as the filament of a lotus, the most delicate of all women. She should always sleep in palaces on the most expensive of beds. Look at how she now sleeps on the ground. She has given birth to sons through Dharma, Indra, and the wine god. She is now tired and asleep on the ground like a common person. What more painful sight will I see than what I am seeing now? I see those tigers among men sleeping on the ground. O king, who is always devoted to Dharma and who deserves all the 3 worlds as his kingdom, is tired and asleep on the ground like an ordinary person. He whose complexion is like a blue ocean and who is unequaled among men is asleep on the ground like an ordinary person. How can be more painful than this? The twins Nakul Sahadeva, who are as handsome as the divine Ashwins, are asleep on the ground like an ordinary man. He who has no evil relatives who defile his lineage lives happily like a single tree in a village. When there is only one tree with leaves and fruits in a village, it is without king becomes sacred and venerated and is worshipped. They who have many relatives who are virtuous and brave live happily in the world without disease. They make the sons of their friends and relatives powerful and prosperous, living on each other's support like trees in a garden. We have been vanished by the evil soul Dhritarashtra and his sons. We escaped the conflagrance conflagration he had instructed. Having escaped from that fire, we have now found refuge under this tree, having suffered unequaled misfortunes. Where will we go now? I think I see a city not far away from this forest. But someone should be awake while they are sleeping. Therefore, I will stay awake. When they awake and have rested, they can drink the water. Having decided this, Bhima himself stayed awake. Next chapter 9, section 9, Hidimba Vad Parva.